introduction on my website, The Promise Revealed, contains a lot of information that I'd like you all to read. There's a lot of interesting information, so I'm not going to get too big into the intro here. But I would like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. I have a regular radio show called Victory of the Light, also near the Cobra Interview. Lots of interesting stuff up there. I would like you to read the transcript. I have some nice pictures, some Pleiadian technologies. And I would like to thank a special thanks to Ricky Serapico for his support of Cobra in this monthly interview. He spends endless hours editing these interviews. He's going through a trying personal transition right now, and our prayers are with him. You can help by purchasing a CD through my website under the music section. And God bless Danelle Glade for her fine transcription of these interviews month after month. She also has edited a private telephone conversation transcribed by her with a financial insider shared for your reading pleasure. And there's a link in the transcription. I think those of you who are into the money scene will be very interested in that. And I have more coming out in the future. I'd like to thank Sam for his editing. Also, I'd like to let you know that the Haleakala solar activation with Louis Martins is confirmed, and he'll be here on Maui on February 26th and 28th. Do go ahead and get your tickets and reservation on the site. There's a link there. Also, I'd like you to support Ada Shah, who's the head of the Cobra Etheric Liberation Group on Facebook and has done a lot of etheric grid work with her partner Jim. And she is translating Louis Martin's book. She has a GoFundMe link in this, just down the page here on the transcript, that you can support her and the light workers of the world to get this information to the English public of Louis Martin's tremendous work. There's also some information on advanced technologies, some great links to George Filer, George Green, some interviews that I did on Valiant Thor and Dr. Frank Strange's. I also have some comments on Veterans Today, and there's other links to a vaccination response and some other stuff about the Sintamani stones, which are out of, by the way. We do have rings, but we will be getting new stones. For those of you who are into numerology, I found an amazing numerologist, and I like to support her. She's getting great reviews. Also, upcoming interviews on my regular show with Hope Girl and Captain K, Randy Kramer. It's a 2-hour special. You can listen to those live on the pyramid1network.com. All of this is in the transcript below. Thank you very much, folks. God bless you, and victory to the light. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and read the transcript. Thank you so much, and victory to the light.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, here we are again with Cobra. And I have a couple announcements before we start. A lot of people have been sending me multiple questions. Please, ladies and gentlemen, keep your questions to maybe 3 or 4. I would really appreciate that. Also, if you could not ask us questions about YouTubes or books or personal people, again, I have to remind you all, please read the book, look at your YouTube, and ask several specific questions. Many people are sending us very long information for us to do homework on it and then to make a general comment. We tend to not prefer to comment on others' work too much, so please keep your things that way. Also, last month, there was some controversy in regards to a post with the Cobra interview and so forth, and we had some differences of opinion, and Cobra and I agreed to disagree. So we're going to address that in just a second, but there's no problem with Cobra. I absolutely support him. I know that Cobra is absolutely pure in his intent. I have defended Cobra constantly against attacks from people, and I am a supporter of Cobra. I have done 3 conferences. I have done a tremendous amount of work for Cobra, and I feel that his information is absolutely tremendous and powerful, especially within the bandwidth of the control matrix. Never before have we had such clarity of the plasma scalar field, the forces behind it, the implant matrices, and things of this nature. And I want to make it clear, very clear, that I support Cobra. We're big boys. We can agree to disagree on certain metaphysical information here and there. It does not change the mission. It's not about me. It's not about Cobra. It's not about our limited human views. we're all coming together here in a space of love and peace. And so I wanted to support that information. And welcome to the show, Cobra. You would agree with me what I just said, eh?
Yes, I would just say that let us go beyond that drama and just carry on with the mission.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Folks, we've had a lot of interesting things going on in the last few weeks. Cobra was away. We had to delay the interview. I've had many requests when it's coming out. We're going to do our best to get this out. We'll see how that goes. It will be very shortly after this interview that it will be worked on, so we'll see how that goes. So, Cobra, since we last talked, Alex Collier came to my conference, and again, we've talked about this before, and it's quite timely. Yesterday, you made a post about the ninth planet, which, of course, is the planet which you said the resistance comes from, and you made a wonderful post explaining about that people would see a blue methane gas water planet, that if they looked closely with a gradient level of 10 pixels, they'd be able to see actually the rectangular glass things, I guess, windows that would look from the subsurface out into space there. So this is a resistance movement planet, and this is good news. Also, you mentioned that here where I am on Maui, the Chimera still control the deep underground space center complex, and they actually will be taking away any evidence from major astronomical observatories on this planet, and that kind of shuts it down, folks. That explains why we haven't heard too much of that. So read that post of Cobra's, as well as keep in touch with his blog on the Portal blog site. I wanted to bring that up. With anyone else other than Alex Collier, I wouldn't keep bringing this up, and you just made it clear in this post. So you answered one part of the question. I was wondering about Nibiru. Does the resistance have any information? And I'd like you to ask them if there's any other planetoid or comet or anything, or dwarf invisible sun, as some people are saying, coming into our solar system and affecting our volcanic activity, any type of things like that.
Okay, I know that answer already, and they have been absolutely sure that there is nothing that will cross the orbit of the Earth or come close enough to disturb the tectonic activity on the planet or have any catastrophic impact on the planet in the near future. So nothing like that exists inside of the solar system right now.
Okay, very interesting. I did just have an interview with Randy Kramer that will be coming out soon, a two-part The Secret Space Program guy, and he confirmed the information that about what he considered Nibiru comes every 3,600 years. He said it supposedly would not arrive for another 2,400, and according to the Billy Meyer notes that I was reading at 17, they said they had bumped its orbit. It would not be a danger to the Earth planet. So you said anything that would cause a disturbance. Is it possible that there may be another large something coming within the Earth in the solar system, but would not cause tectonic damage that may affect weather or something like this?
According to my understanding, there is no celestial body that would disrupt life on Earth. But what is happening, and it's already in the process of starting, is the galactic pulse. The galactic pulse happens every 26,000 years, and of course this is already affecting the weather systems on the planet.
Absolutely. There's been some information that there may be some increased type of earthly cataclysm that may get humanity's attention, that would be a natural cataclysm that cannot be, overcome by the galactics. We have to have a certain amount of tectonic activity, and it's possible that some things could be happening. I'd like to mention that there was a earthquake off the coast of Malibu and off of Alaska recently, and the one off of Malibu was right at that location. Can you tell us, was that earthquake natural? Was there something going on with that underground Malibu entrance?
Nothing was going on at that particular location. That was not natural.
Okay. So made that clear, folks. Cobra says that there's nothing coming in. There is Nibiru thing is not correct. We've clarified that some of the people that were talking that were in the recent public announcements about this planet, it is not Nibiru, so no need to panic or fear. It's not the destroyer comet. Cobra, we've had some radiation spikes in the USA starting in November, and a lot of these have been confirmed by private researchers. Is there anything that you can say about this? Is Fukushima, is this possible wave that came from that, or any information on the radiation spikes from November through December in the western United States?
This was not just happening in western United States, it's happening across the United States, and it's not related to Fukushima. It is more related to certain, I would say, experiments that the negative military did, and unfortunately some of those spikes are real. They are not extremely dangerous, but it is still a concern. No reason to be afraid, but at the same time, it's good for people to be aware, and it's good for people to monitor that independently for any public institution. So if some people have private measuring devices to monitor radioactivity, that's a good idea.
Yes, that's good. I actually bought a very small one. It was like $50. You can stick it into your iPhone. It's an app. I took it to the store here in Maui and went to the fish section to see if there was anything there, and I didn't get any readings. But obviously, ladies and gentlemen, nuclear power is one of the most abused and dangerous sources of, I guess, enemies to human health. Part of the original benevolent extraterrestrial contacts required that the Earth put away its dangerous nuclear technology. So, in your previous update, you talked about a lot of positive financial system updates. Can you please comment on any progress that's taken place? I guess it's been in the last 3 weeks or anything, an ongoing program with the yuan becoming international exchange currency. We've had drops in the Dow, the Baltic Index. Can you please comment? This is obviously an accretion situation. Can you give us a little more details on what's going on in the financial system and something hopeful we can look forward to?
Yes, of course. The same process is continuing in the last few weeks. There is a lot of preparations in the background to reposition the basket of currencies to give them more equal and balanced perspective when the reset comes. There is strengthening of the Eastern Alliance on the financial front. There is the continuation of the attack against the cabal by lowering the oil prices, because this will bring the cabal to their knees. This is one of the major sources of their income. And this is why the price of oil is dropping so fast, to bring the cabal to their knees. And along with that, of course, there is a continuation on the political front and on the military front. So it's an ongoing process, which is slow because things need to continue carefully not to trigger any unwanted responses from the cabal. So we need to do it in a way that everybody can manage.
I have been contacted by an individual who was very powerful in the trading platforms, a good guy, and actually I think I spoke to you about this. He was invited to Bush's ranch and they offered to give him his money. He refused that deal, and he's recently been set straight, and he's vested in some treasury bonds, and I know you don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but he says he's working with the Chinese of the Muiha and has some things. I'm putting a link in the intro for people to read the basic phone conversation that he agreed to make public. Danelle did the transcription, so people can look at that. But he seemed very positive, Cobra, that he said he'd never felt more calm that things were happening. He said that cabal members were calling in to their meetings and trying to disrupt them. Can you tell me, he told me that some people have been funded. I said, really? I said, who? And he said, Obama, who just bought a giant piece of property mansion in, I think it's in Qatar. And I was like, why would they fund him? And I said, was it the bad guys? He said, yeah, the bad guys let this funding go through. Is there any funding of the positive benevolence groups on the down low that you know about?
No, unfortunately, that's what you heard about, is that the bad guys has released some of the funds to their minions to keep them in line. That's all that happened. It has nothing to do with the financial reset. It has nothing to do with what we are hoping for. This is a completely different story.
Okay, I'm going to do one last financial question. There might be another one down here on the line, but there were some runs for some people who are taking some of their money out of the banks. Do you see this as something that's a good thing? Is that the run, will that foment panic, or should people slowly take their money out of the banks? What do you think?
I said long time ago it's good to take your money out of the bank. It's not safe there, number one. And number two, if you keep it in the bank, you are giving a free loan to the cabal to continue with their control mechanism.
Okay, folks, that should put safe sales up, and be sure you keep it safe. If you do that, you can put Mylar around your money that will stop any cabal-related machines that can read how much money you have in your house. And believe me, folks, they do have it. Those microchips in the dollars, they can tell how much money you have in your car as you drive through your little toll roads and stuff. So that technology's out there. I'll switch it up a little bit now. This is the exact quote from a scientist. He gave me his credentials here, but I just thought I'd ask it. It says, according to current scientific theories, the heat source for the core of the Earth is supposedly coming from accretion impact of asteroids that formed the Earth. But to me, this seems a bit of a suspect. So my question is specifically, is it true that the Earth's mass and eternal heat is a result of asteroid accretion, or is there more to the story?
Yes, of course, there is more to the story. The original source of heat in everybody in this universe came from the original singularity. And the original singularity is not something that just happened. The Big Bang is not just a certain explosion that happened a long time ago. There is a certain, I would say, hyperdimensional tunnel created between this dimension and higher dimensions that enable continuous flow of energy, which is more than just the energy that can be measured from the physical plane. And this is one of the reasons scientists have sometimes problems in describing the energy momentum and the angular momentum of the bodies, because there is some certain amount of energy that does not fit in their equations. I would put it this way. It's because it's not coming from the physical plane. To put it in a different reach, the center of the planet is a portal, and the energy is coming through that portal.
Thank you very much. That confirms what Dr. Frank Strange has said, that on occasion when he went with Commander Valiant Thor, they would actually transfer from the portal in the inner Earth to Venus. Question here from one of our Egyptian 2012, Jim. Are important vortexes that are controlled by darkness fortified with entities, parasites, etheric technologies? If yes, can you please give as much detail as possible on this?
Yes, of course, they are fortified with entities and technology, and number one technology are strange jet bombs on the plasma plane. And this is what keeps those vortexes stable.
Okay, I'm wondering, obviously some of these vortexes are coming down. Are these vortexes tied into the natural nodal or ley lines of the Earth?
Yes, that's all interconnected.
As the vibration of the planet changes and these new ley lines are being established on the planet, will some of these vortexes simply become non-functioning due to the shifting of the Earth's vibration, or do these vortexes artificially try to move with the new lines?
All the negative vortexes will be dissolved. They will be annihilated, or they will transmit into the positive ones. So there will be no more negative vortexes on the planet when the time is right.
Very good. Alex Collier said that the frequency fence is down. I don't know what that means. I haven't been on the mainland, and it's pretty vibrationally clear. Would you give us any updates on the plasma scalar field network within the physical aspect of the satellites and some of the more baser technologies that in the control matrix on the Earth? Has there been any major developments in the last month?
There has been some developments on the physical aspect. Yes, there has been improvements, but unfortunately the plasma aspect is not okay yet. Far from it.
Can you tell us, is the ELF wave situation, which carries a disruptor field into every electrical line in the United States in the past, still in process at this point in time? And is there still ELF waves in the mind control matrix coming through everybody's electrical systems?
Yes, it is still so, because I would say the plasma aspect of electricity, or as some people call it, the invisible current, is still there, and this has not been taken care of yet.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Now we have another question, and I wasn't really sure exactly what he's saying here. I mean, you and I kind of agree on the AI that it's a very advanced technology, that it is controlled and has a program, and once the program and the technology itself is shut down, it will no longer be a problem. Many people feel it's this know-all, be-all technology. So they wanted to know, here's a question: does the real AI play the role of an architect that constructs or creates the world we're allowed to see by localizing the wave particles as it pleases through our subconscious and eyes? In other words, are we just seeing, in the spiritual aspects, the great Avatar Yogananda said, this is a dream and you will wake up into the reality of who you are after you pass over, but this life is a dream. Is that being controlled to that level that we're actually watching a movie controlled by the dark forces is the question?
No, it is not controlled to that level. That is not.
What level is it controlled to a certain extent?
No, the AI is just, I would say, the software aspect of technology that was created by biological beings, the Chimera. They created artificial intelligence as a tool to assist them in their control of the planet, of this sector of the galaxy. And the AI is not a problem. The main problem is the free will of beings that went on a negative side. The AI is just a problem which can be hacked, and the resistance movement does not have any problems with AI. They completely mastered that in their own environment. And they can master it in this environment as soon as the critical mass of people will use their free will to support that decision.
Okay, thank you. A further question on this, Alfred Lambermont Weber, I haven't really followed it because it's kind of more negative, bad news that, I know the positive elements of our benevolent space family will be able to take care of. It's a little beyond the human technology at this point, if it is real. And you just talked about the physical aspect that we hope to be removing this. The question is, what's the story with black goo? Is it real? Is it really a goo? Some super soldiers, some people have said that they recalled in some of their programs being injected with some sort of black substance. Do they have like a goo of nanite technology that they use? Is there any truth to the black goo theory? Could you explain that?
Yes, that technology did exist. It was dangerous at a certain point, but it was taken care of. It was not always black in color. It was sometimes deep green or brown or any different sorts of colors. It was actually a bioliquid full of nanites and controlled by AI programs. But it was something that resistance movement has been completely able to destroy in their own environment again. And this so-called black goo might only be a problem in certain very deep, secret, negative military programs at the moment, and not anywhere else on the planet. And again, at the time of the event, this will be completely removed from anywhere.
Well, that's good news, folks. The black goo is not really something that we need to worry about on the surface. Not that it doesn't exist. I mean, obviously, if this black goo could get out there, a lot of people would have a lot of issues with it. Did you have something else to say, Cobra?
Yes, this will not get out because as soon as it tries to get out too much, the resistance will just, I would say, do certain things to completely eradicate it from the planet. At this moment, this black goo can only exist in conditions that are very controlled, very particular conditions that are only met in certain places very much in control and command of the negative military. They cannot just exist and thrive on the open, on the surface.
Oh, that's really good news as well. I wanted to talk about a little bit. I just did an interview with Len Horowitz. It's not up yet. The brilliant dentist who uncovered the AIDS due to his intellect has become an expert in, virology and following the cabal's vaccination plans. Unfortunately, we've had some recent situations where, children have actually collapsed within moments of taking vaccinations. Lots of continued weaponization. For instance, dengue fever has recently been weaponized, and they've shut down portions of Hawaii, and it seems as though they're continuing this pandemic. We know that they've killed Andrew Molden, the man who proved that autism is created by vaccinations. And ladies and gentlemen, if your family is getting vaccinations, I'm really sorry. But if you're so ignorant and you are refusing to look at the truth and you have, damaged your child, there's always forgiveness and you have a long road to hoe. So no vaccinations, ladies and gentlemen. Cobra, can you talk a little bit about these continued plans and these programs? They never seem to get too far, but they put a lot of fear in people. When will we see an end to these viruses that are coming out in the vaccinations? And are there still any microchips being put in there, or what's the story?
No microchips there anymore, but the vaccines are a deadly poison. It is not something to laugh about. It's something to fight against severely. So people need to spread information about vaccinations, about their side effects, and raise their voice.
Thank you, Cobra. And again, I'll recommend people go to fluscam.com, the swine flu site that I worked on with Len Horowitz, Community Action Link. You can see some things I wrote there about how you can become involved in fighting the vaccination programs, as well as being aware and approach this cautiously with intelligence and awareness. Cobra, you sometimes have questions about different things. We've had a question in regards to some changes in Poland there. And, people wanted to know, is the leader there part of the cabal? What's the story in Poland? They mentioned a couple of different things. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the excitement that's been going on in Poland recently?
You see, we will have to judge by his actions, like everybody else. It is not so important at any particular moment if a certain leader is part of the cabal or is connected with the cabal. He will be tested by the circumstances, because even there were many political leaders that were not part of the cabal but succumbed to the pressure. They were not strong enough. So we will see what the situation will be in a few months there.
Okay, thank you. Are there any major vortexes or inner Earth entrances in Norway?
Yes, of course there are.
Would you like to comment a little about them, who's there, or what the situation is?
There is very strong Pleiadian activity in Norway, and of course, unfortunately, there are some negative military bases that monitor and control Pleiadian activity, and they have been put in those locations precisely because of the Pleiadians.
Okay, thank you. I had another gentleman who called me, and I gave him some information that Fred Bell told me about this, and people worry about judgment and things like this. And I want to read this one question from this one individual who follows you and is was feeling confused and stuff. And I'm just going to read the whole question here and let you handle it. It says, I was reading Cobra's interview on your page and came across the question you asked about homosexuality. And Cobra's quote, in most cases, manipulated sexual energy by the archons, because when the sexual energy has been traumatized, or when it cannot express in healthy man-woman relationships, it can be expressed as this. But it is not always like that. It is possible that there is a soul connection with two beings the same sex, which can express in a sexual relationship as well. And then the person says, being homosexual myself, the only thing that upsets me is he implies heterosexual relationships is healthy, like homosexual relationships are unhealthy and unnatural. Although he did say in most cases it's not manipulated. I can't get over the fact that after finally loving myself, I have to hear that I might be unhealthy, manipulated because I'm not attracted to women. Our souls have no gender, and some ET there. So it says, I don't know, I'm confused right now. It's bringing me to tears. Can you please clear this up for me and ask Cobra to have a bigger discussion about this? And I'd like to just preface this, Cobra, with saying that, people need to love themselves, and there's no judgment, and just a lot of compassion and understanding needed, and people need to stop judging others. Can you respond to this gentleman?
Yes, of course. I am not putting any judgment upon him. It is his personal choice, his personal decision. I'm not saying which relationship exactly is healthy or unhealthy. I don't know about his relationships. It's his own personal thing, and I'm not going into that. But I'm saying that in the vast majority of cases, a union of male and female polarity is a cosmic archetype. This is what I meant when I was mentioning healthy male-female relationships. And I also said it's possible for two souls within the same polarity, for example, two men, to have a healthy relationship if there is a connection on a soul level.
Very good. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. There's a lot of other programs out there that people are into, anger, violence, rage, and hate, which we need to address as well without judgment. People need to be cleared of some of these things. Here's a question. You kind of answered it, but not everyone may have caught this. I saw you mention this, that it does bring out some things, but we recently did get another a batch of Sintamani stones from the Sintamani hunters, and people are really enjoying them. And I do have rings, and we're going to get faceted ones, but here's a question for someone, and it's one of the few I've had. Most people have had very positive experiences, but here's a question. Some of us who have Sintamani stones are wearing them all the time, such as 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, are experiencing big emotional swings, ups and downs, and angry fits. Can you describe how the Sintamani works to clear people's emotional states? If that's one of the main things it does. The person, I suggested they just watch their thoughts and be in control of their emotion and watch it like waves on a beach coming and going. How do you suggest people who are having some intensified emotional reactions to the Sintamani stones, and can you explain how that happens?
If you have a Sintamani stone, you need to understand that it will put you on accelerated growth path. It will put you in accelerated purification process. This stone is a powerful stone. It is not just a piece of dead matter. It is alive with energy. It will not put any negativity in you, but what it will do, it will provoke whatever is within you and put it closer to the surface so that you might be able to see it, watch it, observe it, and release it. And for some people it means releasing strong emotions. For some people it is releasing belief systems. For some people it is the reactions on the stone depend on the carrier of the stone. So there are no rules how to deal with the stone. You need to communicate with the stone. It's a living being. It is not just a piece of matter. It's a very intelligent guide that can help you go through your process, but know that the process can get sometimes intense.
Yes, Cobra, in the early days of our contacts with the Pleiadians in 73 and 74, Dr. Bell was having the contacts. I was witnessing occasionally some of these things, but they were very adamant that crystals have a vibrational field. Of course, they have a memory that we can interact with in our human bodies. Can you talk a little bit about crystals and their pyramid shape? They have a life force energy. We know that when they're squeezed, they create electricity. But this aspect of them being conscious and beings is hard for people to understand. I would like to give a little background here real quick. Someone told me about a guy, he was a priest who was a scientist, and he had developed a machine that could look into the body. It was very interesting. And of course, it was controlled by the Jesuits. They wouldn't let it out. He kept it under wraps. He was in England, but certain aspects of this technology has come out. And basically, it looks in the body. They were filming this screen of this machine, and there was a crystal. And there was something moving around between the man and the crystal, going back and forth. And then when the people who were watching the screen noticed it, it was as if this entity realized it was being watched and went and sat still inside the crystal. Can you talk a little bit about the level of consciousness and how these crystals, stones, and of course it goes back to jewels, folks, emeralds and diamonds and sapphires all have these same information along certain ray energies. Can you talk about how this resonance takes place and the science of that, Cobra?
There are two aspects of this. The first one is the more esoteric aspect, which means that there is always a certain angelic being that is connecting with that particular stone and is transmitting energy through that stone. And if you go more towards physical, there is a lot of plasma current going through crystals because crystalline structure tends to create a resonance field through which plasma can flow a little bit different than to any other medium. So this creates a very unique, specific plasma condition that can assist in that particular crystal in having certain characteristics that otherwise would not be possible.
Well, thank you very much. That's a big part of the work that I really resonated to with my work with Fred Bell that I always enjoyed, and is utilizing actually sound, light, and color in conjunction with crystals along those lines. And people have asked many times how to use the Sintamani stones, and I recommend people get small pen lasers, or I have some on my side or whatever, using a laser on the Sintamani stone and focusing. Cobra, since we're kind of in this field, I want to jump ahead and ask a little question I had. I wanted you to share with people, people have asked about manifestation in prayer, and I've described it as you have to have an orientation and an inner emotional calling. And I tell people, with all of your might, with all of your attention and focus, with a heart open, to focus on entering into the silence and to calling forth your I am presence. Can you give your own description of someone who is feeling a deep longing to connect with their I am presence? How would they go about this and mentally preparing? Any suggestions you may have for this? For me, when I go into prayer, sometimes it's stronger or deeper based on my feelings of in the personal situation every moment. I'm asking you, I know physically we can prepare a nice quiet room. Some people like candlelight to focus on. It's a good way to go. But if you could maybe share with the best way mentally, I guess this is an individual process, but how you would describe the preparation to focus on the I am presence and their own innate God consciousness, or the Christ within, as I would call it.
This is not a mental process. It is something that happens in silence, in the void. So what I would say is to remove distractions for that time being, have some empty space physically and some time, and dedicate some time, and then just surrender. And be in that silence, in that void, and things will begin to happen.
Thank you very much. Coming back down to the real world here, I did some posts recently about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, of course, the drug running, the sex slaves, and the criminal activities and the murders that have taken place around them. Ladies and gentlemen, when they went into Waco, most people don't realize, but Bill Clinton's bodyguard was one of the first people in the window, and the second group came up and murdered him. Brings us to this next question, which I'm highly suspect of the official story. Very recently, Hillary Clinton's Secret Service agents, personal bodyguards, 4 of them died in a car crash. Any insights on this, Cobra?
They died because they wanted to speak. And you know that she has many secrets that she would not want to come out.
Okay, thank you. That's very concise and clear to the point, and an understatement. Kind of leads us to this next question. There's a guy that's come out, and there's another guy who I've been contacted in the secret space program here. He's kind of like Randy Kramer. He doesn't have his memories. He doesn't want to become public yet. But he told me that at an early age, when he did his 20 and back, he was used as a sex slave as a boy from 9 to 16 in these secret cabal parties that are like Eyes Wide Shut, or whatever that Stanley or Kubrick movie with Tom Cruise, I forget the name of it, where the elite have these horrendous sexual parties and stuff like this. So I don't know if you've heard about him, but there's a guy who's coming out, and he's in later age, and he claims to be an MK Ultra sex slave, and he's been talking about Hollywood people coming to these parties where some of them are cloned, and then they're tortured in a ritual or something like this. And he has a lot of claims of they're pretty outlandish, including Dick Cheney killed 21 clones. I believe this is possible. I'm kind of curious.
This is not only possible, this actually was happening, especially in the time frame starting from, I would say, late 70s until, I would say, 2001, 2002.
So these murders are not happening anymore. And can you talk about that?
Cloning with the purpose of those cloned beings being used in their rituals is not happening anymore.
Oh, okay, that's good. So this guy has been talking about some of these things as recently, and you can say it hasn't happened. He may be accessing older memories or something, possibly.
So he's saying that it was happening recently, or what was he saying?
Yeah, he was saying recently. In fact, he said there was the famous black comedian who died suddenly, Bernie Mac, was taken into one of these things. And as you know, they progressively show these Hollywood people into a deeper level. And if they resist the program, they don't go any farther. But he came into this thing, and he, according to this guy, this black comedian, Bernie Mac, said that this person shouldn't be treated this way, and he was removed from the cabal ritual, and the next day he had a brain aneurysm and was dead.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Those rituals do happen, but not including, they don't involve clones anymore.
Okay, well, that's some heavy stuff there anyway. Let's give us an update on the situation in Europe. And here's a quote from a person, a question. It says, a while back you seemed to indicate that very negative people who were entering Europe disguised as refugees would be easily identified and removed by the light forces. Rapes have occurred. Can you give an update on the progress of this removal of these hostile Muslim elements planted within the European continent?
I cannot answer this question because this is highly classified information.
Okay, but they're working on it. Obviously, they're stopping.
Yes, of course. They cannot just remove everything at once, but they are making with their plans. But this is a very, very, very sensitive issue right now.
Yes, it certainly is. I check in the mainstream media every now and then. I haven't heard a lot of information. Of course, I'm not in Europe. I don't know what the buzz is over there, if they're pushing that for the racial tension. I haven't heard too much. Obviously, these horrendous rapes are taking place as they did in Egypt against women. This horrendous disrespect for human life, and especially for the sacred women vibrational energy on this planet. It's one of the most heart-rendering things I can just think of, is this type of violence. What kind of things do you think the regular people can do to help heal this? Goddess meditations, do you think candlelight vigils in the street? I mean, what nonviolent way can we bring awareness to the situation so that it doesn't escalate anywhere around the world, actually?
The first thing is, of course, those kinds of guided meditations that will bring more balance in the situation. And the next thing is to support women, especially those who are targeted, to give them as much support as possible, especially people who are living in the region when those things are happening.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we talked about this, to be honest, I've been watching the Corey Good interviews, and I think I'm up to episode 11 or 12. Tremendous information. It's a lot different than reading what people say. They kind of change some of his stuff, but I really have a lot of respect for the information that's coming out there. And again, there's no comment on the positive confederation or the benevolent Agartha network yet by him. He doesn't have that information or that contact. But the question is, what does Cobra think of Corey Good's claim of this AI nanite within the cosmos as well as on the Earth? I mean, is this still going on in certain segments of the galaxy, do you think? Or
no, not anymore. And this, what was termed as AI nanite infection, was actually the same as I was describing with this plasma network with tunnels of sept. It's the same thing with different terminology.
And Cobra, I'd like you to comment on this. I'm sure you're aware of this. My understanding from contacts, what Fred explained to me with his contacts with Andromedans as well as Pleiadians, is that, and I've heard this from Dr. Frank as well. I'd like you to comment on there is a plasma etheric field that is connected to the computers and technologies of many of the benevolent Confederation forces. As I understand it, this is a fail-safe technology as opposed to the AI that is manipulated and controlled. This is a technology connected to the universal plasma field of light and love throughout the universe that will stop any computer or any negative activity within the technology. In other words, if it gets into the wrong hands, benevolent Space Confederation technology could not be used for bad. Is there a positive connection to a universal intelligence that is connected through technology by the benevolent forces, is used in a positive way?
Yes, of course there is. The plasma is not all bad. There is, of course, also the positive plasma network, which is being used by the light forces to create galactic networks of light. And it's pulsing with life. It is something very beautiful, and it cannot be misused.
Yes, and I feel that a lot of our technology, although it's on the junior level, a lot of our sacred geometry, pyramids, crystals, your stargates, and different things like this are actually tuning into this and accelerating this process. Would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely correct.
Thank you very much. Okay, here's a question, and it's a long story. You can keep it short, but someone wants to know the truth behind the Book of Mormon let's talk about the Book of Mormon and the experience of Joseph Smith first. Were those genuine contacts with benevolence and the original information of Joseph Smith of value and benefit to humanity?
They were genuine contacts at first, and of course they got severely distorted immediately after.
That's the second part of the question, the truth behind the Book of Mormon and the LDS Church, so we just understand that that's corrupted as any other religion and manipulated and controlled to mislead people. We'll leave it at that. Okay, it says, we're totally open in our dreams and are clairvoyant. Why do our guides and higher self not have frank conversations with us in our dreams to help us awaken to the truths of the reality and the real war of good and evil and in our life?
One of the problems is the implants, which were put in precisely to prevent that kind of connection. And when all the implants will be removed, and when the veil, the plasma network, and all this is removed also, there will be much stronger connection between the personality and the higher self, and it will be quite more natural.
So lucid dreaming and things like that will become a lot more available after the event, a lot more contact, correct?
Yes.
Alex Collier recently stated that our sleeping DNA is now beginning to vibrate and awaken at a higher level than ever before, and obviously children are super powerful along these lines. Can you comment on the DNA? Are we going to be able to reconnect ourselves when the fence comes down, and will our DNA accelerate its growth so that we can have a unified mind instead of a split mindset?
DNA is just consequence of expanded consciousness. So what will expand will be our consciousness, and DNA will just adjust to this new frequency.
Okay, there's a basic question here that I was kind of interested in. It says, right before World War II, Italian troops invaded Ethiopia, and Emperor Haile Selassie went before the League of Nations to plead for his country. Many regards his words to be prophetic, predicting World War II. The invasion of Ethiopia resembled the Vatican versus the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Because we know the archonic link with the Vatican, what was the real meaning behind this encounter?
The Jesuits were behind this, and of course the Jesuits wanted to impose their own version of religion, or I would say their own version of mind programming cult to every country on the planet, and this was behind Italian invasion in Ethiopia.
The communist regime took over in Ethiopia in the 70s. He was actually quarantined by the communists in the country there. He went into a church to pray, and he was never seen again. Is it possible he was taken by the benevolent forces, or was he murdered, or do you have any information about the many stories of his alleged dying or disappearance? Do you know anything about this?
According to Mind Guild, he was taken by the negative forces.
That's not good news. He was a true lover of God and a great man, and really cared for his people. Can you tell us about, there was a giant skyscraper fire in Dubai on New Year's Eve, and there was a UFO sighted before the fire. Could be a negative one. Can you talk about it? It was, of course, it didn't bring it down, but it was a giant skyscraper that was enveloped in flames, and many people died. Any information on this Dubai skyscraper fire on New Year's Eve?
It was part of the cabal's operations to instill more fear and lower the vibrational frequency on the planet.
Thank you. North Korea claims to have detonated a hydrogen bomb. Most people weren't buying it. Can you talk about that? Was that a regular underground nuclear test devised by the cabal to incite more fear?
Yes, exactly. It was not a hydrogen bomb at all.
Okay, good. It's a little fear-based, but in regards to the David and Corey Wilcock information, they claim, and it sounds pretty negative, you just answered, I guess I won't go into that, but they said there's tentacles reaching everywhere, the internet, people, and even other galaxies. So I guess we already answered that. I just wanted to say that here. The other one, there's an interesting one regarding your post in the master plan some time ago. They wanted an update on the specific information within the master plan, and we don't have to go through all of it, but any salient points you'd like to address?
Yeah, but you need to ask that specific question. Which part of the master plan they want to address?
Exactly. I know we need specifics here. I wanted to go into this. There's a lady who wrote this letter, and you probably heard of her, and it sounds like a really good letter. She's got so many names in here, and she says at the end of the letter, in service to His Holiness the Pope. Her name is Anna Wilhelmina Sophia von Retzinger von Rickenstein von Letlow Vorbeck. In service to His Holiness the Pope. It's a great letter talking about, calling for an end to the financial system. Do you have any intelligence? Is this an accurate letter? Is this a misdirection? It was done in 2014, and a lot of people are rallying around the tone of the letter. You have any comment on that one? Do you know about it?
I would need to see the letter, then I would be able to comment.
Okay, it's been going around. It's pretty big over here. Could you talk about the significance of the Göbekli Tepe within 100 miles of Aleppo? And J.J. Hertak had mentioned a long time ago that that's a very important area, and he was hoping that the war wasn't going to be destroying these sacred sites. But can you talk about the significance of the Göbekli tribe?
They were a society which was actually having their great development and growth immediately after the fall of Atlantis. They were not the peaceful goddess worshipper kind of society, unfortunately. They had quite strong connection with their Draco overlords, but they left some quite impressive monuments in the earth, and I would say less than 10% of this has been discovered or excavated.
Can you talk about the true esoteric meaning of the Eye of Horus? I've heard that it relates to a relationship between the pineal and pituitary gland when placed over the human physiology. Could you talk a little bit about the real meaning of the Eye of Horus? It's a multiple dimensional meaning, but if you could give a short description of that.
It is something that is called the One Eye, and One Eye is an interdimensional portal in the middle of head which connects the physical brain with the etheric brain and higher dimensional bodies. And because of this inner organ, it is possible for human brain to register thoughts. And this is why we can think. This is why we can operate the physical body. It is not just the organ of inner vision. It is a connecting link between the soul and the physical body.
Very good. So there we have the esoteric anatomy relationship of the inner eye. Going along those lines of spiritual enlightenment, and the Rosicrucians on certain levels have been taking over a tremendous amount of positive, real information within the Rosicrucians that we can't deny. Rosicrucian is named after morning dew, according to some sources. Ros meaning dew, and crucius meaning crucible or flask. The Rosicrucian order is a picture of a rose flower with dew droplets on the petals. The Order of the Golden Dawn is a secret society which was formed by members of the Rosicrucian order who split off to form their own group. The name was chosen because it represents the primary source of the main ingredient for the elixir of life in the Philosopher's Stone. There's another order called the Morning Star, which refers to the planet Venus. When the moon, as the sun rises, you can see the star. When the morning dew is at its highest levels. Can you talk about morning dew as a sacred source or used as an elixir of life or anything of that nature? Tell us about morning dew.
Okay, this question obviously comes from somebody who is quite deeply initiated in the mysteries, because morning dew is a code name for a certain essence. I will not say more, I will just say that in some circles it is known as the 16th color.
Okay, can you talk about how it's used at all, or do you know about that?
Yes, I know about this, but this is not something to be talked about openly on a radio show. If that person emails me to my email, I can discuss this privately.
I guess I wanted to ask you if you could talk about the Fatima incident and how that took place. Obviously, there was a cloud cover that came over that day. The people on the ground saw the sun move. That was a spaceship. I think we asked this long ago. Can you talk about the prophecies of the Fatima and why the third prophecy has never been revealed? And can you tell us what it was?
It was not revealed because it actually exposed the origin of the Roman Catholic Church, and the prophecy was how it will be undone. So if that prophecy would be published in its entirety, it would actually expose the very background on which the Roman Catholic Church built.
Okay, thank you very much. One last note here, folks. On the intro, some people have wanted to get to the Cobra interview. It's real simple. This month, we've made a very clear demarcation between the intro and the interview. If you want to read the transcript, just scroll your finger. And we'll thank you very much for tuning in here to the Victory of Light. And again, I want to indicate my support for Cobra, his mission, what he's doing, and the information. We all have different bandwidths and areas of expertise, and together we can hopefully put these pieces together of the puzzle. Cobra and I have spoken about this before, and we both agree that this information is very important. At the same time, your own internal frequencies and how you connect to the source of all that is good, beautiful, and true is very important for you to raise your vibrations, to not to have any fear as we look at these tremendous transformations. Cobra, thank you so very much for coming on. I'd like you to announce anything that's special going on for you and your website again, or if you have any parting messages for our listeners.
Yes, I have a few messages that I would like to share. The first one is for people to continue with weekly event meditations. The second one is for those who feel so guided to continue with meditations for Europe. They are still needed. It's possible to find instructions for those meditations on the right side of my blog. I have a lot of intel that I will release when the time is right. I don't know when this will be. Certain conditions need to be met. Until that, people will have to be patient, because there are many things I cannot say yet. I'm hoping that conditions will improve soon enough, but I cannot guarantee when this will happen. And as Rob has mentioned, there has been a new batch of Chintamani stones released. I will prepare some of those stones when the time is right.
Thank you very much. Also, Luis Palenza, who works with the Red Dragon Ambassador, wanted us to mention that she does have a global peace meditation, and she was hoping to combine it with the group. We can't formally do it. The time was short by the time you got back from your trip to organize that, but all meditations and all groups for peace. So there is a call for peace from Louisa, who has organized that. And this is non-denominational. It's not supporting any information in regards to financial stuff. This is a peace effort.